Damn, y'all feel it?
Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. A message to all you pseudo spitters. The sound is cool, but the trend I see is the truth is missing. I feel the flow is stupid. You claim that the music's different. Hey man, I'm feeling like we got some interesting stuff to talk about today.
That we do. I'm glad you mentioned that. But before we dive into those simple topics that we got, not simple, but controversial, big, it's out there. Before we get into it, y'all gotta do is one simple favor for us, and that is to follow us on all social media platforms: KTR_podcast, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. No Roast Podcast, Facebook, YouTube, No Roast Podcast, all podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Podme World, everything. And don't forget to get your merch at prowrestlingtees.com/KTR podcast. Now, we're not going to waste no time. We finna dive into this episode. I had topics and ideas written down all week. They're right here, but that's out the window today because today we found out this is probably one of the biggest pieces of news in the wrestling business since I don't know when.
You can't mark it back. You can't.
This is number one right so far in the world of wrestling, the wrestling community. This is the biggest thing ever. Mm-hmm. Never saw it. Not saying we didn't see it coming. I didn't think I know we was gonna see it coming, but former CEO, former chairman of the World Wrestling Entertainment, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, has retired. Speechless, very speechless. I found out about this randomly. I just got on Twitter and I just started scrolling. Then I refreshed my timeline. It was at the top of my page. It was like 1 minute ago. I got looking at the time, man. And he made his post, and I will read it verbatim just so for y'all that don't know. I'm pretty sure everybody knows about it so far already. But Vince McMahon tweeted at 77, "Time for me to retire. Thank you, WWE Universe. Then, now, forever together. Hashtag WWE, hashtag thankful." Now, before we dive into this topic, just want to give a shout out and congratulations for all the work that Mr. McMahon has done for the past 40 years for this wrestling industry and wrestling business as a whole.
Yep.
Because he mainly started all of this, so I can't knock him off for that. You know, he started this pretty much the world wrestling entertainment, the sports entertainment business. I'll give that to him. So yeah, so congrats on the 4 years. Congrats on retirement. But let's dive into it now. With Vince McMahon retiring now, I don't know where to start. Like, just tell me y'all thoughts about it. What's your thoughts about it? Like, how you feel?
I don't. Okay, I'm glad you said like you don't know where to start because quite honestly, there's no direct area we can start from. Just the word former itself is already big enough. Just the word former itself. First off, we spoke on Vince McMahon and his influence on the WWE recently, over quite a few episodes of KTR. And we've spoken on numerous occasions where, we feel that it is time for Vince to step down and have a change of direction. So to be honest, this is something that we were honestly looking for. The fact that it happened so abruptly, that is a shock, but it's needed. Despite the whole allegation thing, we'll probably get back to that in a second. But with the whole allegation piece, the fact of the matter is he does need to sit down with Stephanie and Nick Khan coming in as the replacement CEOs. That's going to be an interesting chemistry set right there. But Triple H reprising his role as the talent coordinator, whatever
EVP of talent relations.
Thank you. EVP of talent relations. So there's already positive directions. But yes, I'm gonna be that guy just because I've seen Vince McMahon's work over the past decades took place. There is a part of me that says this is a work. There is a part.
Wow.
I'm being completely honest because we're talking about Vincent Candy McMahon. We're talking about the same guy who faked his death as a part of a storyline and had to scrap the whole thing because a certain wrestler had a situation. Okay, like we
I've been
can
already, right?
right,
Right.
yes,
Self. No, you, sir. Stop incriminating. Let's
yes.
keep moving.
Moving on.
I mean, I can't look. Overall, I don't think it's a word, but there is a part of me that thinks so. A part of me says, okay, in about a year, when this whole allegation stuff is pushed over, whatever, he'll come back. Say, I'm back. You know, he'll give that BS. There is a part of me that has that. As far as where the wrestling business is going, it's going to be a slow transition because now we got a major shift in power. It all depends on the relationship between Nick Khan and Stephanie, to be honest with you, on where the business is going to go. I feel NXT is eventually going to have a slow rehaul, but that's wishful thinking. I mean, there's so much we can talk about. But Harv, what about you?
I agree, man. All that, the word former to me is very powerful because nobody expected to see Vince McMahon and former without RIP somewhere in that sense.
That's
You
true.
That is true.
anywhere until he passed on. You know what I'm saying? Like you saw him holding on to the reins of the company for good. Especially with the recent events with Triple H and then with Stephanie and Shane a couple years ago, they always up and down. So you didn't see nothing going on except Vince holding on to it until he passed on. So that part is surprising. I think it's overdue. He should have been retired because he hasn't really done much to positively contribute to the wrestling world in a while, in my opinion. He's outdated. He doesn't really know what needs to be done anymore. So it's needed. It's the way he goes out is bittersweet. He deserved to go out that way. The issues that he's gotten himself into, that's, is what it is he got to deal with that. I agree with J-Bo. Not so much that it could be a work, but I could see if somehow he gets out of these legal issues, he's going to come back. I don't see him staying away. I don't see him being able to stay away. I still see him pulling some of the strings behind the scenes. A lot of people in the company that are going to remain loyal to him and take his advice and do the things that he asks them to do. The transition is going to be slow. Again, like J-Bo said, a lot of people are expecting it to be pretty immediate. I think that little crap with the male model agency proves a little different. Whoever this new faction is, that was cringy. That was terrible. But yes, it's going to be a slow burn. But I do think eventually we will see WWE return to a top form.
Yeah, like I said, talking about changes going on with this business, like Vince McMahon, he played a major part in all the years of this business. Like I said, we talked about it before. It was time for him to pass the torch and move on and see what is there to the business in the future. And so with that being said, what do you feel like the future entails for the WWE as a whole? Like with you could even from like a business standpoint, a talent standpoint, storyline standpoint, for instance, like what do you see with this business going forward now?
It depends on, like Harv mentioned, it depends on how much behind the scenes pull that Vince might still have. That's a major cap. Because again, we always go back to the to NXT at its peak, to where Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and the rest of or the Click or DX or whatever, like going back to their control, we saw where wrestling honestly could go. We saw where the potential future of it can go. So with Stephanie being half in charge and with Triple H reprising his role, I can see a return of that same wrestling style that they know worked. And it worked well. I see less focus on athletes like they do now. It'll take a while, but less focus on just general overall athletes and a return focus to wrestlers. Wrestlers who are independent. I do see that focus coming back. But again, if Vince and those who he is very close with still have a lot of pull behind scenes, then Either that's not going to happen and they're going to try to keep things the way Vince wanted for a long time, or from what we want to see in wrestling, from what we have saw in WWE and what we know they can do, that part, it will slowly come back. But that's what I see it happening if Triple H and Stephanie as well, convert it in the way that they know WWE should be and can be.
I agree. If Triple H and Stephanie have their run of the way things go, I think the future is pretty bright. If Vince has a lot of pull and it's a lot of internal struggle, maybe not so much. The immediate future is going to look pretty much the same as it has. I think behind the scenes, a lot more of that is going to be more exciting than what's going on WWE TV right now, because we're going to be paying more attention to who's doing what backstage.
Yeah.
Signal what's going to happen in the future. They need new writers. It's a lot of stuff that I'm looking forward to happening that I hope happen, because I've really just been having more fun watching AEW than I have WWE lately. This is the shake up. The biggest thing that's made me want to see what's going on with WWE is the scandal that's been going on with Vince McMahon and everything that's been going on because of it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping that in the far off future, they back to what they was. To me, I feel like the Ruthless Aggression era was when they were really top. They had a good combination of entertainment and skillful wrestling. So if they can get back to some kind of cohesion like that, that's what I'm looking forward to.
With them being TV 14 again, that's sort of like a good step in where they can. And I think with obviously Vince retiring, I honestly think they mapped out the rest of the year. I think before he announced it, he has who he wants and what position. Obviously, maybe not the matches specifically, but I think they have everything that Vince wants leading up until WrestleMania. So again, if there's going to be any real noticeable change, and it may be a lot sooner, but I don't think we'll see any real noticeable change until post-Mania next year. That's enough time for Stephanie and Nick Khan to get acclimated with their roles. Like you mentioned, Harv, we get new writers or whatever. Shoot, there's going to be that. There's going to be new writers. There's going to be new teams. There's going to be new producers. It's going to happen. Triple H gets back into his role with talents. They'll give them enough time to start scouting maybe the next wrestlers to push as they're coming in. Like, there's a lot of time in between. It may take longer than post-WrestleMania. But my point is, I think post-Mania 23, that's where we'll start seeing some, okay, this is a Stephanie move. This is a Nick Khan move. This is a Triple H move. We'll start seeing that more obviously.
My turn. All right. This is what I'm looking forward to. Bring back all the people that y'all let go. Bring back. that's what I want y'all to do. Triple H, bring back Adam Cole, please. I want him back up. I want him back on WWE soil. Bring back Cesaro. Bring back Rusev. Bring them all back. Hell, bring back the Big Show. I don't care. Like I said, bring back these people. I just want them back. I just want to hear the Undisputed Era theme song all over again, pretty much. But no, like I said, with this, Triple H was always big on giving hard workers and people that deserve a chance the right opportunity and knows how to utilize their character. And so with that, I hope to see that more on the main roster and actually utilizing the whole roster as it should be. They give people their showcase and their chances to win titles and matches and not having us expect the expected, give us some surprise in with just this roster pretty much. Because usually lately we haven't been seeing, I don't want to compare and contrast the male roster and the female roster pretty much, but like only surprise that we have seen for like the female roster was Nikki ASH win the women's title, and now we have Liv Morgan win the women's title now. On the men's side, we haven't seen that really as pretty much of anything with the world title. Obviously, it's either Roman Reigns or a part-timer, and that's pretty much it. It's been holding on for like a good amount of years. I can't remember who else besides those two or Seth Rollins that hasn't been champion. Like I said, do that type of stuff. Bring that surprise feeling back. Like when Santino Marella won the Intercontinental Championship, like when Leon Ruff won the North American Championship. wild as hell. But like just something along the lines like that, pretty much like just give us that element, like work these storylines better, give more people opportunities, build a more main event character. We have a lot of talent on that roster. Well, we did have a lot of talent on the roster. Like I said, build that up, utilize people. Somebody like Kevin Owens should be a multiple time champion, in my opinion. Somebody like hell, Drew McIntyre, I can see him being a 5-time champion by now. You know, it makes sense. Give Randy Orton his 16-time championship title. Okay. I'm sorry, that was a personal opinion. I apologize. But y'all get what I'm saying. I'm looking forward to more chances for the whole roster. I'm looking at giving people opportunity no matter their stature or size. Not stature, yeah, stature or size. They don't have to always be big and cocky to be a main eventer. No, shout out to the small wrestlers who are maybe underneath 200 pounds or underneath 6 feet. They can still go out in the ring and still find a ways to win. So yeah, so that's just my thing. That's just my 2 cents. I hope that happens. I hope it comes. Get rid of Ronda Rousey. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Well, speaking of Ronda Rousey,
who said Ronda Rousey?
And the likes of Lesnar and Reigns. One change I'm predicting is going to happen is a reduction in part-time wrestlers. I see a big change in that one because that's something to me, and I don't know these people personally, but I just feel that's something that only Vince and his people like. They know that brings in money, so why not? Give them a belt, they can show up whenever they feel like it. I feel that as time progresses, we're not going to see any part-time people, at least in the positions that they are. I do see them, coming like, John Cena, he came and, he'll do something here and there, or, whoever it is, but like main event spots, I see that changing.
Yes. Yeah, take out the part-timers in those main event title matches. That's it's trying to use them as the fillers because you can't figure out a storyline or have anybody else next up for you. Things like that.
Like, I don't even care. I mean, I've been not caring about this upcoming Reigns and Lesnar match, but it's not because they've already wrestled 37 and a half times. It's because they haven't been there. They haven't been there. We have got no bill. Roman Reigns will come in, 1 week and he'll speak on the mic and he's gone for the next 3. Brock Lesnar will come in, F5, 7 people and leave, and then he leaves. Like there's no consistency. And this is supposed to be the main event for not only the heavyweight title, but both of the heavyweight titles that we had together. So all that I see that changing. I see that changing big time.
Yeah.
The build has been weak.
Right. And also with that too is with developing of the superstars, and like you said, hopefully, not saying hopefully, but just more so less of like recruiting athletes per se, and actually getting more wrestlers to actually try out and actually have an opportunity to get to that main stage. Because I'm pretty sure that's a lot of wrestlers' dreams to get to the WWE. I mean, eventually at one point, at some point of every wrestler that stepped foot in the ring is having the opportunity, a chance to actually go into the WWE.
Will.
You said what?
Will Ospreay.
Well, that's it. Almost everybody. I'm pretty sure it was in his mind one time in his life. With all the years of seeing people going through, the process, everything of being WWE and hearing about the stories, I'm sure it changes for a lot of people. But at one point, in a wrestler, I don't care if you was 3 years old, 5 years old, 20, whatever. At some point in your mind, you always want to go to WWE.
Now Will.
At one point, it was always in somebody's mind because that's the mainstream wrestling TV show, no matter what. It's like a kid pick up a basketball. I want to go to the NBA. Like a kid pick up a football, something like that. Somebody get in a wrestling ring because they saw WWE on TV. They ain't seen New Japan Pro first, unless they live in Japan. But yeah, that's really exactly that's the only reason why you didn't see Ring of Honor first and nothing like that. You saw WWE because that was on your cable TV. So it is what it is. Like I say, eventually it's been somebody's dream. And like no offense or no shot to the athletes that made the transition over into the wrestling world and are successful. I apologize, y'all earned it and everything. But still, like for those wrestlers who actually like been grinding out for years, those long car rides, underpaid shows and things like that. You just getting the opportunity. That's what they're working for, pretty much, per se, in my opinion, or what they wanted to work for, instead of Division One collegiate athlete who had a full ride scholarship throughout their collegiate career, then getting this NIL deal, which give them an opportunity to not only get a WWE contract, but train with these professionals, unlike a variety of wrestlers out here that are already on the indie scene, learning from other indie wrestlers or just going to a seminar or something like that, or a camp here and there. They're actually learning from the product and the source. And so it's like, it is what it is. But like I said, hope for change, hope for better. Like I said, just hope for a bright future within the business.
But you're not wrong, because I can imagine there's wrestlers, who've been wrestling, like you mentioned, been on those roads 10 plus years wrestling, still in great shape, who could still go. Where they saw the news of Vince retiring, I'm pretty sure they had a small smile in the back of their face, because I know all they had was, of course, the independent scene and AEW possibly. But now with Vince going, I know there has to be a thought in the back of their head saying, there's a possibility where I can continue my work, and AEW is not the only organization looking out for me now. Now I try to prove myself again to the WWE and go down that route. So I'm pretty sure there's wrestlers out there who say there's a chance.
Exactly. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, we talked about this, talk about the future. Let's talk about let's see. Let's talk about Vince. Why do you think Vince retired? Let's talk about that real quick. Why you think Vince retired? We think it was because of the allegations. Think maybe he got voted out. I did see in the article, and also I got this from a word of mouth too from a friend of mine, and it was just talking about that Vince McMahon's health is possibly declining.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm saying I just saw from
I believe that's probably the case. They're saying his health declining for years, though. There's been plenty of taking small steps back and then came back early because he just can't keep his hands off of it. But I think honestly, it was a forced retirement.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think his sickness, or you saw how cocky he was when the allegations came out. He's still coming out on TV, strutting around when he's supposed to be taking a step back. I think that the rest of the people behind the scenes, the other people, that the shareholders and them cats, they, no, you need to sit down. You got to sit this out. I think it was forced. Like, I do think he's probably having health issues, and that it was time for him to take a step back, but he wouldn't do that of his own will. They make it. They make it down. Yeah.
If we hear the interviews that wrestlers who at least have a positive view of Vince McMahon over the years, they all say, "Oh, he's always in the gym. He's always up. He's always moving. He's willing to get into the ring and show people." Like everyone always speaks on like how he's always ready to go. So honestly, even with his health declining, even if that is true, even if his health declining, I still don't think that would have stopped Vince. I think he would have, been in a wheelchair, at the age of 92, and he'll still, try to call matches behind scenes. Like, I really don't think his health played a role. I think it's possibly his health with a combination of the WWE style, that's the backstage, the lifestyle that's not going to change, on top of these allegations that are coming against him, which obviously is stressful. The lawyers, as Harv mentioned, they're forcing him out. I think it's a combination of all those things put together. We're like, all right, fine, I need to focus on this, and I can't, run a billion-dollar organization like this. So, yeah, I think it's a combination of multiple things.
I can see that, like you said, what Harv said, like the higher up, the ones that higher with like the big names and stakeholders, stuff like that, told me like he need to sit down and just stay away and just keep quiet, but everything's going on, because it possibly some bigger news may have came out behind the scenes and we don't know about it just yet. And it might get put out to the public sooner than later. And
I remember the illegitimate child storyline with Hornswoggle end up being the illegitimate child.
Yeah.
Bro, like, what if there was another story like that, but it's for real?
It's real. Exactly. Like something like that. So it's probably best that he got out of that position before he started getting maybe sued for the company and the business. That may have been a possibility, because maybe he did have like a illegitimate son. He want to sue him for the business. He might win over there, and that's it. No, hypothetically speaking, no, just throwing it out there. But like all this stuff does play a part. Like I said, it had to be a forceful retirement. He didn't do this by choice because out the blue, randomly on a Friday afternoon, just saying like the highest person in your position, I'm retired, just out the blue, out of nowhere. You would think he would probably prepare something like a speech, a planned retirement. Like, okay, once next WrestleMania come up, I'm done. Something like that. He just did he just said F it a week before one of the big 4 pay-per-views of the year.
Yeah.
And just say I'm gone. So yeah, this definitely was a forceful cop-out retirement.
Yeah, have to.
Yeah. With that, I'm glad I saw him in person for the last time at WrestleMania, so I can say that. But he's not convincing. So with that, him being out the chairman, him being out the CEO, who do you think would be the next permanent chairman or CEO of WWE?
Well, they already mentioned that both Stephanie, she was the interim at the time, but now they officialized that her and Nick Khan will be co-CEOs.
But is it temporary or is it permanent?
No, they officialized that one, and I can verify, but I'm pretty sure that news came out.
I think ultimately it's going to be Stephanie. She's cutthroat. Yep. She is Vince's daughter. She's ultimately Vince's daughter, and I think she's better equipped to run the company. And I think that the same way that Vince had Tony Khan under his thumb, not Tony, Nick Khan. Who is it?
One of the Khans.
Nick Khan, yeah.
Khan man, yeah.
Khan man.
She gonna have him under his thumb, under her thumb. She's gonna get him wrapped up real quick and handle business.
Yeah.
Yeah, so more like I could probably see Stephanie McMahon being the chairman or chairwoman of the position, and they have maybe Nick Khan as the CEO, because the chairman would be hired in the CEO position. So I could see that possibly happen for them in the future in the business. Do you think Shane McMahon's going to make a return to the business?
I mean, I don't think it won't happen, but I don't think the news with Vince McMahon would alter him coming back or not. Like, I think he's just going to come back just because that's just what Shane does.
Yeah. What does Shane do outside?
I mean, he got other business or whatever, but yeah, he got money.
Yeah, we know he got money.
That matters. He got money.
Right.
Yeah, Chinese money. That boy was making. He'd make good money.
So we talk about the future, talk about the allegations, talk about why you think he retired. Yeah, I think that is pretty much all I got. It's pretty much all I could cover for it. One thing I want to probably touch on real quick is, one of the changes that Vince McMahon did make before he left was changing the product from rated PG to TV-14. With that, I don't really know I think PG was 12 and under, so it's like a 2-year age difference. What do you see coming about from that pretty much? I think it's just for use, just for verification, for stuff that's already been going on pretty much with them, just of the more so them wrestlers dropping the B word even more, just to let small quote unquote cuss words slide by pretty much. And that's pretty much it. NXT right now has been getting a little raunchy. That's the first time I used that word. But NXT's been getting a little raunchy lately. Not so more so of the main roster. The main roster's been a lot more cussing, especially with the women. They be quick to call somebody a bitch real fast. The men, they really don't toss around the B word like that. Really just be the Brock Lesnar just throwing around any cuss word that comes to his mind. Or
I do have to say, Jim Ross.
Talking about AEW, we talking about Jay Cargill
on the Jay Cargill match, and all. So he's a bad bitch. Oh, she's a bad bitch. I'm a bad bitch. Boy, he did me dirty with that one, man. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't
He need to retire
ready
too.
for old Jim Ross to go that deep with it, man. I was not ready.
He need to retire too. But yeah.
At this point, yeah. That's another discussion for another day.
Yeah. But how y'all feel about this transition to the PG era into the new TV-14?
I think it's probably more business matters more than anything. Cause like you mentioned, like they've already been more vulgar in the past 2 to 3 years than they have been before. I think this just sort of like certifies it that they can get away with stuff like that. Like I said, I don't think there's going to be any real change in the product. We've seen, as you mentioned, we've seen some change in NXT on the main product. I don't really see much changing from what they're already doing. Like I said, I think it's just more business, behind the scenes to do that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see too much changing really. They've cemented themselves as the family-friendly environment type company. I see it being a little bit more loose with the language. I wish they would bring some of the more the moves that they banned back, let them throw a little bit more into the arsenal. But ultimately, I don't think much is going to change. I don't think they're going to do much with blood or anything like that. Maybe some little bit deeper storylines they might try, but nothing big. I don't think it's going to be that noticeable.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like the Jerry Springer inspired stories from the era. None of that.
Well, I say all that
was a good part of a good number of those Jerry Springer related storylines.
Man, yeah, he was. Yeah.
You ain't gonna go there yet.
Well, I say, with all that being said, Vince McMahon, we wish you the best on your future endeavors. And with that is all the time we have for today's episode. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for the support and everything that y'all do for us and the rest of the community. But before we sign out, before you log off that computer, before you log off that podcast, before you log off whatever device you're listening or watching on, be sure to do this one simple favor for us, and that is to follow us on all social media platforms. KTR_podcast, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. No Roast Podcast, Facebook and YouTube. No Roast Podcast, all podcast platforms. Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcast, probably on everything. And don't forget to get your merch at ProWrestlingTees.com/KTR Podcast. The Vince McMahon retirement episode. KTR, #KTR. No The Roast Podcast. And we are out.
Tell them, what should they do? Big Harv.
Pump those numbers, baby.
That don't compute in my mind. I must be out of mind. Black fist high, rally up before we out of time.